Welcome to the Resilience in Leadership podcast. I am Coach Anda Goseco.
And I am Ian Santos.
In each episode, we share our story and interview world-class Filipino leaders who are among the best in the world and who deserve a spotlight for all their courage and perseverance to greatness.
Our goal is to recognize outstanding Filipino leaders who exemplify leadership traits worth emulating.
Start a movement to enhance and elevate leadership capabilities in the country.
Create a community that helps each other become better leaders.
And inspire other leaders to elevate their game through integrity, malasakit, courage, inspiration, and resilience.
As we strive to become that great one, we have to fuel our spirit with these inspiring, resilient, and courageous Filipino leaders that we have today.
So if you are someone who leads a great workplace and engages employees,
loves to achieve great results, or simply someone who aims to succeed as a leader,
this podcast is for you. Now let's get to the show.
He is one of the most celebrated Filipino motivational speakers in the Philippines today. He is renowned for his Learnjoyment brand of keynotes and workshops. He is a real corporate and business practitioner with solid on-the-ground experience in managing companies and businesses such as award-winning VCargo Worldwide and Paulo Tibig corporate trainings for more than 2 decades already. This makes him relevant and in touch with the real workplace conditions which many sees as his competitive advantage. The best-selling author of the book Strategies of a Champion Entrepreneur and the recently released Standout, How to Lead Without Losing Your Values. He is also a go-to regular resource person on national TV and radio shows and programs. Very recently, Paulo was named part of the inaugural Philippines Top 30 Leaders on LinkedIn. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Paulo Tibig.
Hi, Paulo. Good to have you here today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me with this podcast. And first, I would like to congratulate you, Ian, and then the rest of the team for coming up with this. I think isa to sa malaking bagay, especially now that we're getting again to getting to the better normal, if I may say. Maraming salamat.
And congratulations, Paulo, for being part of the inaugural Philippines Top 30 Leaders.
Yes, congratulations, Paulo.
Oo nga, maraming salamat, and I would like also to congratulate you for the initiative of doing this. I'm sure a lot of us have been parang aspirational for many to be recognized as a leader, especially for LinkedIn. And I think it has provided the venue for many to aspire and probably be good leaders as we see, parang ganyan. Maraming salamat for taking the initiative, and I'm sure lahat pati resources kasama ron, Ayan.
Yeah, and actually that's the reason why you're here today also, because we wanted to talk about resilience, and we were curious to ask about your thoughts on that as well. So you're saying that we're moving into the better normal, right? But it's good to also take a look at the last 2 years. So just curious, what did you learn the last 2 years with resilience?
Well, for us, Coach Anda, when we started VCargo, we have in mind already that we're getting into an industry that is quite dominated by many multinational players. And definitely, it's going to be challenging for us during that period to really come up and compete with them. So what we did was to create and develop a service, a solution that will really get us to, we may say, a market that would probably give us a headway against this competition. So in a way, for us during that time, we wanted to be resilient in a way because one, it's either we absorb or resist what is happening dito sa industry. And I think for many businesses, gano'n naman ang pinag-uusapan. So what we did was, inabsorb namin within the industry, the challenge, those things, even yung mga pagkakataon that somehow we're having difficulty, financials, operational, because we cannot really compete head on. So in a way, it provided us the preparation to get into it. Now, here comes pandemic. So pandemic have shown, if I may say, if I may quote, and this is what I love that I have developed over time during the last 2 years, that we're like coffee beans. Bakit? Hindi lang dahil siguro mahilig ako magkape. It's more really because of we are like coffee beans that when we are deep in hot water, you know exactly how strong and intense we are. So similar, pagka iyon do sa organization and as an individual, when we are faced with many problems and we are faced with this kind of situation, uncertain situation, then you know and you can see how the true character of that individual is. And I
Yeah, I'm
think that's
curious. Okay, go
yep.
ahead.
Yes.
So,
Sorry. Go ahead.
you first.
Coach.
You complete what you're saying, and then I'll ask you a question about that.
Then, as I was saying, parang ito yung parang nag-trigger for us to really develop things, and somehow, yun yung reason then why we have been able to manage at least the last 2 years of the pandemic in a situation wherein we can still see that and we can still grow. In fact, we can still thrive, and it has proven that we have thrived during the last 2 years. All
Yeah,
because
well,
of the preparation in terms of how to be resilient. It's how we absorb things. Kasi if from the get-go, parang kung ginawa na namin yun na ni-resist namin, probably we're having difficulty. Well, of course, we have difficulty during these 2 years also. Operationally, tinamaan din naman kami. Pero at the end, di ba, parang are we going to really resist or are we going to fold up during that period din? So, how do you take it, di ba? Parang ganyan. Kaya I always love and consider that we are like coffee beans. Doon napapakita eh. And when we are faced with these uncertainties, paano mo mapapakita at mapapalabas the true character of the organization, as I've said, and also as an individual.
I like what you said about absorb. So I think absorb is a good word because sometimes we try to resist change. But I think what you did here was you went with the change, right? You mentioned something about strong, like the coffee bean, right?
Coffee bean.
So I'm wondering on the how do you do that? Like how did you make your company stay strong and how did you be strong during this pandemic? I mean it's great. I mean the story that you did with your company, but we're more curious on the how. So leaders who are listening and teams who are listening also will know how exactly to apply that.
Even before pandemic, we have identified our real true market with this. We've developed solution that is somehow, if I may say, flagship on a certain segment of the industry. We're in, parang kumbaga, alam ni Ian to eh. Ian is in the multinational industry. And there are services that multinational requires and provider needs to really, parang it has to be aligned with provider. So what we did was it was brought up because of there's pain points in so many things na nararanasan previously nung wife ko. We used to be in the brand management category. And lagi niyang sinasabi dati, yung problema niya in terms of deployment of the POSM, the merchandising materials that accompanies the marketing campaigns or the sales campaign of certain brand. From there, sabi nga namin, why not, because of these pain points, why not come up with a solution that will address these pain points? So we regard those pain points, the real pain points, into something that will provide us the opportunity to get into that market. So yung ginawa namin is that parang we've provided and we've developed logistics marketing services as our flagship way to really enter and create that space for us. Kumbaga yung mga gravy dati ng mga existing malalaking players in the industry, kung ayaw nila yung mga ganung parang trabaho, doon namin dinevelop. Doon kami nagdevelop. We've taken into account the competition. We've taken into account yung mga opportunities along that line. Ito nga, I've included that, Anda, in my book. the best-selling book, which was we call a C2C. So noon pa lang may crisis na akong pinag-uusapan, crisis turns to cash. So it's C2C, meaning to say, in any crisis, there's always business opportunity, and it really works well for us. Ibig sabihin, yung personal crisis o yung organizational crisis during that time, and until now, I guess, hindi pa rin nawawala eh. Yun nga lang expanded na. So doon namin nakita yung market, doon namin nakita where we're going to, doon namin na pinpoint saan kami pwedeng mag-develop at continuously do business with that. In fact, till now, that was 22 years ago. Nako, yun na, medyo nagkaalaman na. That was 22 years ago. Parang we're looking at and coming up with what we call as a flagship parang services. Yun nga, logistics marketing. It's a combination of logistics with marketing services in mind. Trade marketing, sa brand, sa all this stuff. And there's peculiar, and meron silang kakaibang need eh. So doon kami nag-focus. We started the business there, then it evolved. And until now, 22 years ago, till now, that's one of our major pie in terms of the revenue of the company.
Yeah, what I really like about what you're saying is that you're able to turn crisis into opportunity.
Yes,
And I think that's
C2C.
true. Yeah, I think that's true resilience. You know, like a lot of people avoid crisis or are afraid of crisis, but then you faced it head on and looked at it as an opportunity. Good.
And it works well. It's validated. In fact, probably part of the business that we have right now, if before that's about 60-80%, ngayon siguro, if I may say, at least 40% of our total business still on that particular solution. So it is proven that it's resilient to begin with. So meaning to say, coming up with different approaches, di ba, parang we always try to look at where will be our competitive advantage, where are our competencies, di ba, parang ganyan. And we've seen that it's through what? Getting that crisis into an opportunity that turns for us cash from then on till now. C2C. Yan.
So Paulo, no, I'm very familiar with what Paulo's saying, no, yung mga delivery and deployment ng mga
USM.
promo materials, even gondolas, kasi I'm in the FMCG space there, no. So very interesting and it's great that you were able to establish that niche, Paulo, no. Now I want to shift ngayon dito sa pandemic, sa crisis. No? And I have two questions if it's okay with you. First is, you were recently awarded, no, VCargo Worldwide was recently awarded by Philippine Airlines as their Diamond Awardee partner, which is the highest award, no? How are you able to do that during a pandemic? And then yung follow-up question ko, para diretso ka na rin mag-share, how do you keep your team engaged and the organization engaged, especially during very challenging times, as in the last 2 years?
Alam nyo, when we started the business, parang we're trying, yun nga, from the get-go of knowing exactly our market then, through that pinpointing the real pain points, we were able to see that there's huge opportunity. So probably that's a given already. So ano ibig sabihin? Over time, we've managed to really capture quite, if I may say siguro, na accounts or trading accounts that we know exactly there's sustainable business with them. So ibig sabihin, hindi kami nag-spread too much on the services that we provide. We focus on the business model where competencies are, dun lang kami. In fact, we've tried many revenue generating channels. And some is good, some is not. Tapos, we've even experimented on new innovative ways of getting into, again, revenue generation of channels, lead generation, and so on. Ang nakita lang namin is that talking about resiliency, there's one resilient area that we can maximize, that is sustainable. And basically, yun nga, kasi when you're into sales, FMCG and the likes, there's always that complementing merchandising materials distribution. There's always support in terms of marketing. There's always trade marketing initiatives. Diba? So with that, there will always be continuous logistics requirements. If I may share with you, sabi ko nga, any businesses, big or small, multinational or local companies, would always require logistics. Whether it's a typical courier na parang naka-sobre lang yan, messenger, if I may say, whether it's now e-commerce, the platform that requires distribution of products end-to-end, C2C, B2C. Now, what we try to focus is on the B2B platform lamang. Where? Kasi nandun yung competencies. And since we know exactly, through our rigorous way of strategic planning, year in, year out, first half and second half, we've managed to really pinpoint industries, sectors that require such. And one of those, aside from FMCG, is pharmaceuticals. That's where now, doon din namin nakita that it's going to be sustainable regardless of the times. Pharmaceuticals. It provided us the venue to, again, to be an expert. Kasi we know exactly now what do they need. FMCG. Parang ano to eh, when is the timelines? Kahapon, now na. Alam mo yung parang ganon. Yung bang, parang there are campaigns na it has to be deployed 2-3 days all over the Philippines, system-wide. Alam mo, mga ganyan eh. So paano mo gagawin yon? So we managed to really develop through that, and then the culture of the company. Parang how do we encourage our employees, our staff, to have that kind of culture? Wherein parang, yun nga, parang now nating, if you would notice yung mga postings namin, pagka if it's related to VCargo, meron lagi doon hashtag na dugongponkan. So yung dugongponkan na yun, that's a culture that we wanted to be embraced by all by our team members.
Be the orange among the apples.
Oo nga, yun pa rin. Be the orange among the apples. How do we stand out? And this is the way to do it. Sabi ko nga kanina, di ba? If they don't want gravy, we will try to focus on that gravy. Paano namin palalakasin yung gravy na yun? At yung gravy na yun, patuloy na magbibigay sa amin ng business. And it worked. In fact, if I may say, this is one of the secret sauce that VCargo has. Ngayon, na-reveal ko na what's the secret sauce. Really about taking the stand to be different and standing out from the rest amongst our competition. Parang ganyan. So, okay lang mag-share ako sa inyo. No? Yung principle kasi nung Be the Orange Among Apples, it's about when you see red apples and then on top of that, merong isang orange doon. Parang take a look at the apples as your competition, the competitor. Paano ka tatangkilikin? Paano ka ipapatronize? Paano ka patuloy na bibigyan ng kabuhayan? Paano ka ikaw yung pipiliin over the others? If you try to compete based on the same platform, based on the same pricing model, based on the operational model, pare-pareho lang kayo. So there's a need for us to really stand out and get really out of that competition to create your own market space. And I think that worked for us. Again, it has been proven. And the pandemic have really provided us yung talagang venue to really stand out. Why? Maraming salamat for that, Ian, Yes, we've been awarded. For us kasi, recognition is we're always happy to have that recognition. But for us, yung recognition kasi, I always tell our people that the continuous business of our client and trading base is the best trophy that we will have. Kasi di ba parang despite all this recognition, with all humility, the company, the organization has been getting a lot of mga talagang awards and recognition. Yet, the mindset that we wanted to inculcate with the team is that, yes, we are happy to have that recognition. You're part of that recognition. We value recognition. But then again, the business, the best business that we can get is that the trophy. I mean, the best trophy that we can have is the continuous business of our customer. So doon namin talaga binibigyan ng halimbawa, and that's part of the dugongponkan culture. It has to be reflected with one another. Hindi pwede kasing parang lip service lang eh. Everyone in the organization must have that buy-in. Parang dapat bentang-benta muna sa amin lahat para mangyari yun.
I'm curious about that buy-in, Paulo, because when I coach leaders and teams and organizations, I see that sometimes they want that, like that's a goal. but then you're not able to drill it down. So I'm curious on how you did that. How did you make them live and breathe it and believe that dugongponkan that you're saying?
Hindi siya makukuha in one sitting, in one engagement, in one coaching or one leadership session. It has to be continuously. Parang ang ano ko dito, Coach Andy, it has to be like a ritual. Parang 'di ba ang kababaihan katulad ninyong magaganda, 'di ba? Parang sa gabi, may ritual eh. Pag may mga makeup, lipstick, tatanggalin natin 'yan sa gabi, 'di ba? So, similarly in the organization, when you wanted that culture to have that buy-in, dun sa building the culture within, parang it has to be continuously being done. So, from aesthetically, from a typical parang poster like sa paligid mo, to the things that you do in the organization, alam mo yun, yung as literal as yung mga ano tawag dito, yung mga screensavers namin, kailangan kung ano yung aming battle cry for the year, it has to continue. And then we have to live with that mantra. Parang we try, sabi ko nga, it's more than the lip service. It has to really be reflected. It has to be makita namin sa that it has to be done. Hindi siya ganon kadali. Kaya nga, it takes us mahabang panahon from the initial conceptualization of the kultura until now. It has to be we have to be reminded. We have to refresh people also. We have to encourage that we have to do it. Kasi pag hindi bentang-benta, so you can see the difference between a person who has that buy-in versus wala. Malaking bagay. So, for us, parang ritual siya. There are steps to do it. There are ways to do it. We have to manage things. And probably one of the things that I have perfected over time, over the last 22 years, is getting really our team to have that dugongponkan culture. Kaya nga, alam niyo, biroon nga sa kumpanya eh. Parang grow old daw with Paulo. So when you grow old with Paulo, it means that yung kultura nasa iyo na dapat. Parang ganun.
Paulo, go ahead, Anne.
Now, I was just gonna affirm what you're saying, that I like the rituals part. That it's not just something that you see, it's something that you have to feel, and that's something that you can experience. And I think if you're able to do that, then you feel connected to the company that way.
Kaya nga eh. That's the reason why when customers provide, even little things like, for example, just thanking the team and so on, we try to amplify that with the rest of the organization. Parang ito yung gusto nating mangyari. Ito yung gusto nating when we live up to the culture. Ito yung result that will happen. And we amplify that. And I think that really provides the team member to really go on. Of course, there will be a lot of problem along the way, but it's part eh. Kailangan mo talagang tuloy-tuloy. And that's the if I may say, Anda, yun yung kaibahan when you want to really build the culture within. Something that they can easily relate to. Alam nilang ginagawa nila, pero kailangan maipakita sa kanila na, hey, yung ginagawa mo yan may katuturan. Hey, yung ginagawa mo yan may value at ito ang resulta niyan. Kaya nga ito yung trophy that we can get. Tapos continuously, during our general assemblies, huddle and so on, we really try to encourage them about and always remind them about the kultura. Kasi ito lang yung magbibigay sa amin ng kaibahan eh. Still, babalik na naman doon, be the orange among apples. How can we stand out from the rest of the competition? Kumbaga, medyo kami, parang, if I may say, kampante kami, confident kami enough that, yes, we can do this. And we have seen that it can be done. We can see different results. And probably those things, the awards, yes, it may be the highest of our partner airline. Pero in our case, ang nga namin, we try to tone it down na we can continuously getting those awards. Pero remember everyone, that still, the business of our babalik na naman doon, yung business of our customer is the best trophy that we can get. So babalik na naman saan? Day in, day out, you have to live with the principle and with the culture.
Paulo, time flies very fast, no? So I have one last question before we go. You're wearing a standout shirt and your standout book is there. Can you tell us what it's all about and why did you write Standout Leadership?
It's a spin-off from the first best-selling book, Strategies of a Champion Entrepreneur. And that best-selling book have provided us the real sense of how to be how to be, if I may say, how to be successful in business to begin with. I lay down strategies that have worked for me and have proven to be working also for many Filipinos. In fact, that book have reached not just the country, thousands and thousands of people already, also abroad kung saan nandun ang Filipino. Now, it's a spin-off of how to continuously stand out. Now, with this, it's more of ethical leadership book. It's really trying to get into the millennial way of, leading the team, taking them into the principle of how to lead really well without losing your values. Parang ganun siya. Kasi di ba, ngayon yun ang problema natin eh. Yes, marami tayong nakikita. And ang gusto nga natin dito is it has to be principle-based, it has to be ethical. For me, ang sabi ko nga, standout leadership is basically multiplied leadership. And I think this ethical leadership book is really anchored on how we can, as a leader, be more ethical in what we do. How? For example, we strip the crown off our head. Meaning to say, people are not emotionless machine. Kumbaga, di ba, they are all human. And being human, we have to treat them as dignified as possible. So that's one. Parang marami tayo nakikita ngayon. They see people as robots. So ayaw natin ganon. Ethical leaders sees differently. They are not robots. They are humans. Another is that when you manage team and when you lead people, fireworks doesn't work. Calmness of the sea does. Meaning to say, it's not providing that, alam niyo yung cloud of fear. Di ba? Parang hindi pwede kasing natatakot, tinatakot. And that's a usual when you have that authority. Di ba? Parang, right. Sabi ko nga, pag nakapatong sa ulo natin ng crown, parang nag-iibang anyo tayo. Yun yung ayaw natin na kahit may crown ka, you have to be vulnerable. Ibig sabihin, maging, pag nasa office, yes, we are the leader. Yes, pag nasa office, probably we are the leader that our team really respect. Now, outside probably of the office or beyond the office hours, kailangan medyo develop that, relationship, healthy relationship, if I may say. Kasi yun naman yung essence ng leadership Yun naman yung essence ng standard leadership. Wherein one another communicate well, one another provides yung collaboration and cooperation, and one another really sees the respect with one. We need leaders. The world really need ethical leaders at this point. So really, let's have to have that mantra of multiplying leadership with one another. Stand out. Yun ang sinasabi ko nga dyan.
Ang galing, Paulo.
Talagang nakalink pa rin, Nakalink pa rin doon sa principle. Oo nga, nakalink pa rin sa principle.
Oo, ang galing Kasi parang what we're saying is you can still be successful as a leader and at the same time being an ethical leader with, integrity, which is one of the key values and of the top 30 leaders on LinkedIn, So parang
saka yung may malasakit with heart, di ba?
Integrity with malasakit. Very aligned,
Exactly.
Parang parang di tayo nag-usap talaga doon, pero talagang parehong wavelength, kasi I remember I attended your book launch a few years back, pero I was really impressed by the content of the book kasi a lot of people kasi as you mentioned, a lot of leaders are traditional, they lead by directive style, you talk about empathy, you talk about malasakit, and you talk about being ethical as a leader, having integrity. But still you can be successful. So I really actually recommend for people to to buy and read your book, hindi ako binayaran ni Paulo dito, but I really believe in standout leadership.
Dapat pala padalan ko rin kayo. Kasi it's a very good book. I see Ian pala meron pa.
I have a book, meron pa
national mo. Hinakot yung sa national and it was launched. Kasi tapos maganda siya. Ang maganda kasi John Ans and the rest, parang siya, it's a wakasan type. Parang pang millennial talaga ang take. Parang storytelling wherein parang there's character in it. And then along that line, doon napapakita how the leadership attributes can be seen and can really be we can really apply and really be equipped with this kind of things. Parang ganyan. So nakakatuwa siya.
Right.
Kaya nga, and then in a way that it's going to be easy to relate to by people. At sabi ko nga, sana may kasunod na raw na sequel. Naku, hirap, inabot na nga ng pandemic. Yun lang ang problema. So, yun. Standout leadership, really, for me, is really something that it has to be multiplied. It has to be a multiplied leadership talaga.
Galing. So maybe, Anda, you can close with a final question before we let Paulo go.
Yeah, so well, I like that concept of multiplying yourself, right? And being able to also help other people stand out as well. So yeah, I just with everything that we've been learning from you so far, so what would be your greatest lesson in leadership?
Well, one, humble enough to accept things, to continuously, tanggalin yung know-it-all syndrome. That's for me is one good attribute of a very good leader. Kasi di ba pag leader na, parang alam ko na lahat yan eh. Parang you just keep on telling people that you have the authority to be one. Yes, you may have the authority to be one. But at the end of everything, we have to really humble ourselves that we can still learn, get things a lot for us individual, for ourselves to improve well. And for me, it's really about taking that opportunity to be with people also. That's where you see how you can really work with them, collaborate with them, and how can you lead and manage team. Kaya I firmly believe that there are a lot of ethical leaders out there. And we can develop more ethical leaders. Na marami pa rin nandyan, only that we have to guide them. And probably ito yung mga paraan. And probably this is one of the legacy that we can do. Parang making them champions too. I really believe that it has to be multiplied. It has to be some kind of, sabihin na natin, way of, it's an innovative way of leadership, if I may say. It's really more of stewardship already. Kaya nga, wag maging madamot. Yun, if I may say, and to put it bluntly, wag maging madamot. Kasi if you wanted you to see na parang it's not about impressing other people. It's really more of parang taking that opportunity to help people to be very good leaders too.
What I'm hearing is the theme, Paulo, is really about growth. So with you as a leader, it's about growing, never-ending growth and being humble enough to be able to admit what you need to work on as a leader to get better. And it's also growing the people in your team, like looking at them as individuals, caring for them, and growing them as people. So I love.
Grow old with
really
Paulo daw.
Yeah, grow with Paulo. That's your next book.
Grow old with Paulo. Magandang
Grow
title.
old with Paulo.
Grow old with
And
Paulo.
I think oo nga, yun ang laging buruan ever since for people who have been with us for 15, 20 years already. And yun yung mantra that probably that's one of the validation that we're doing in a way with all humility, well good in terms of leading and managing people also in our own way.
Bro, Paulo, I know you're super busy. Anda and I and the team really appreciate your time tonight. I know you're gonna go to Manila pa after this, so super thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Alam ko napakahirap mong makuha na schedule, so salamat ng marami.
Uy, maraming salamat sa inyo, everyone.
Thank you also, Paulo.
Kahit
Thank you
yung
so much.
konting snippet na to, sana makatulong.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to learn more about being a resilient leader, you can book a call with me or Ian by sending a message on our LinkedIn accounts.
Connect with Ian Santos and Anda Guseco on LinkedIn and make sure to subscribe to our Resilience in Leadership podcast YouTube channel to get notified of our next episode.
Remember, always stay resilient. Talk to you next time.